Welcome, everybody, to Monday Mojo. Today is February 8th, and we are honored to have our special guest here tonight, Vanessa. I know her as Vanessa Kinzey because we grew up together. Vanessa and I have known each other since I think I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and you were like 10-ish. Yeah. And I remember, I'm going to start by embarrassing her, if that's possible. I remember, Vanessa did and still does love the A-Team and dressing in camouflage. And I remember she came to my birthday party once, and she was dressed in her fatigues, and she climbed off of our back deck. And yeah, like we were in the middle of the party, and we had no idea why she did that. But in addition to being super fun, Vanessa is an actress and a very talented singer as well. And we were able to do some shows as well. So I am going to hand it over to Vanessa. Let me go over to our speaker view to go ahead and share your story. If anybody has questions or comments or encouragements that you would have for Vanessa, feel free to chime in, and I can pass those along to her, and we'll hear the rest of her story. So without further ado, Vanessa.
It's Vanessa. I've always wanted my own show. This is awesome. So none of that embarrassed me, but you stole my big kicker about being a fan of the A-Team. So Michael did mention that I'm an actress, and I'm just going to start with this. I am terrified of public speaking. I don't mind being on stage. I don't mind being on film. You know, I've stood 3 feet away from Kevin Spacey, no problem. And right now, I mean, the amount of adrenaline going through my system is kind of amazing. And I really worked hard on this. I had this whole outline, and I had all these little nuggets of wisdom that I wanted to share. And the more that I worked on it, the more it just sort of felt wrong. And so I kind of threw all that away. I have a few little notes here of things I want to remember to share. But this is really going to be sort of off the cuff, straight from the heart, just sort of my story. I did prepare some slides, though, that I'll share as we go along. So a couple things about me, my history. My family is comprised of carbaholics and yo-yo dieters. That's basically our religion. Not really, but yeah, I watched both my parents growing up just constantly going on a diet, going off a diet, going on and off, on and off, on and off. And they never got anywhere. And that was my example. No offense to mom and dad. And I was never really happy with how I looked or how I felt. And I didn't know what to do about that. A couple times throughout my life, I would get in a fitness kick. But my only goal would be how much weight can I lose in the shortest amount of time so that I can get back to eating whatever I want and, you know, go back to my unhealthy lifestyle. That sounds like a great idea, right? So let's see. My big go-to diet over and over and over, my BFF, not really, was Atkins. I did Atkins probably 40,000 times, starting when I was about 18. And I lost 20 pounds and I gained it back. And I lost 20 pounds again and I gained it back. And it's amazing, that cycle, and how it just kept on coming back. Every time I would gain weight and I would feel badly about myself, I would go back to Atkins because it seemed to be the only thing that worked. Well, anyway, my big thing seemed to be trying to either lose as much weight as I could, as quickly as I could, or I would try to out-exercise my unhealthy diet. And as you get older, that becomes less and less possible. And you know, I couldn't stick to anything. Although I have been aware of Beachbody for a very long time. Let's see, when I was about 18, about the same time that I discovered Atkins, I ordered the original Power 90. And I was young enough that I got about halfway through and my results were good enough that I felt like I could just quit. So I gave up on that. And I have a slide I want to share because this was my life. So how do I share my screen? Share screen. That's not the one I want. One moment, please. I think it's this one. Can everyone see that? Thumbs up? Awesome. So what we see here is a lot of before pictures. That's kind of funny. So this is my very first underwear selfie. I don't want to look at that. And then here's another before, and here's another before, and there's my back fat. Don't you love it? So if I could guess to the dates on this one, I think this first one, the underwear selfie, that's about 2009 or 10. Then we have 2013 and then 2014. And nothing ever changes. I don't have any after photos for any of these. Like I said, I was aware of Beachbody and I had a number of programs. And in fact, even these more recent pictures, I believe I was a part of Michael's, one of Michael's challenge groups. And I just didn't follow a program closely enough to get any good results. And so I would always end up with a bunch of stinky before pictures and none of those beautiful after pictures that you hope for. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing this. So then about a year and a half ago, I tipped the scales at the heaviest that I've ever been. And as though that wasn't badly enough, as though that wasn't bad enough, my body began really begging me to make nutritional changes. I had terrible acne. I felt sick all of the time. I had terrible acid reflux, plantar fasciitis. My joints were inflamed. I was mean. I had headaches, and I even began to have symptoms of IBS. And nothing I seemed to do would get rid of it. Nothing seemed to help. And I felt trapped. I felt trapped in my own body. And I just knew that something had to change. And what did I do? I did Atkins again. And it didn't really help. I lost some weight. I gained it back. And then my inflammation, my plantar fasciitis, I also have a knee that I injured while exercising when I was too heavy. It got so bad that I was literally limping around like Igor. I mean, I would just galump down the stairs because it hurt so bad. And I would try to hide my limp when I was around people, but honestly, I was in incredible amount of pain. And the turning point for me is that one day when I was limping around, I came to a place of acceptance. And I thought, well, I guess I'm getting old. This must be what getting old feels like. They warned me about this. But then something just didn't sit right with that. I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, this can't be Like, I can't be falling apart. I'm not that old. And it was around that time I did one more round of Atkins because I'm crazy. But the good part was that Atkins has you cut out all sugar, and not having any of that sugar in my system allowed my inflammation to go down. And I felt well enough that I was like, you know what, I need to start exercising again. And that's about the time that I approached Michael about rejoining a challenge group. I was planning on doing Turbo Fire because I already had the program. And I thought, you know what, I won't spend any money that way, and I'm sure that I'll get good results if I just follow the program. And I got about 2 days in, and then I was struck down with this terrible cold. And Michael and I were actually sick at the same time. And it was about 5 days we were both out. And in that 5 days, I realized that during doing Turbo Fire was wrong. There was just something wrong. Like, my intuition or whatever just told me that that wasn't what I was supposed to do. And I had a friend who offered to loan me Focus T25. So I sort of jumped at the opportunity. And somewhere in those 5 days of being sick, I realized that I should follow the program, like the whole program. As though, Michael had been chirping in my ear for 4 or 5 years telling me just follow the nutrition plan. All of a sudden it sank in. And I basically made a promise to myself that I was going to do that first week perfectly. And I did. There's a quick start nutritional guide, and whatever there was, I ate it. Like, whatever it said, it didn't matter if I didn't like it. It didn't matter if I didn't like the way they prepared it. The point was that I was going to do it the way it was in the book. And this was my very, very first time doing this. And I found it extremely empowering. I realized that leading up to this moment, like all the previous workout experiences I had, I was always making an excuse about why I didn't want to do it their way. I was going to do it my way. I was going to make a substitution. I was going to make an exception. I was going to move around the workouts. And this time I just said, whatever, I relinquished control. I'm going to try something new and see what happens. And my response to this was pretty amazing. It was like just 1 week of eating well, and some kind of switch went off in my brain, and I got it. So it really, really connected. I have another slide I want to share, if I can find it. So this is the first day of Focus T25. If I can share my screen. So this is day 1. It's a slightly better than some of the other before pictures, because I think I might be about 10 pounds lighter. Actually I lied. This is day 2 because I forgot to take pictures on day 1. But the point is, it's the beginning of the program. And I was so on the jazz, which I was just so excited about T25 and about following the meal plan and sort of investing in myself, that I ate practically perfectly that whole first month. And this was the result. Can everyone see that? From day 1 to day 20, I remember being really impressed with that. I was like, oh my gosh, it's only been 20 days and look at that. And then all of a sudden, just 6 days later, I'm that much better. And then within 1 month, practically, my body has transformed. And one of the moments that just really stuck out to me in this first 30 days was that my husband and I, we went hiking or something, and I was in a really good mood, and I was strong, and I was able to keep up with my husband while we were hiking, and I wasn't complaining, and I was just enjoying everything. And he turned to me and he said, "I like fit Vanessa." And that just spoke volumes to me. And it really made me think about who I had become when I was gorging myself on fast food and Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is my lover on the side, but we won't talk about him too much. So I had this, for me, it was an amazing transformation, because it wasn't just about the pictures. It wasn't just about my body, what had changed. Something had happened in my mind. And about halfway in there somewhere, I contacted Michael, and I was like, I've got to get on Shakeology. Like, I need it. And so I ordered my Shakeology, and I really attribute those results to using Shakeology, because I've never had results like that before in my life.
Vanessa?
Yeah.
Just to break in here,
yeah.
The last pictures that you showed, I don't think that they showed to everybody else. We were still on the day 1 picture.
Okay.
Did you have other pictures after the day 1 of T20?
I did. Let me see. I'm gonna share screen, and I want this one.
There we go.
So here, between day 20 and day 26 is when I started Shakeology. And it was just like my body exploded. And please excuse my underwear. My mom keeps on bothering me on Facebook about this. Why are you posting pictures of yourself in your underwear? Well, Mom, so people can see my body. Anyway, so these are the results. Sorry, you couldn't see it before. And I was already about 2 years before I started Focus T25, I had started personal development on my own. And so I was reading books like The Slight Edge, and I did The Artist's Way, and the Power of Positive Thinking, and a lot of personal development books like that. And my brain just sort of exploded, and it was like I was primed and ready for something big to happen. And I have this little thing. I also read How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I was trying to get someone to read that book, and they just flat out refused. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. And I wrote down this little thought, which was, resistance to personal development is resistance to change. And it occurred to me that I had spent my entire life completely fearful of change and of trying anything new. And when I had this experience of trying something different than what I believed to be best, it was like doors just started opening for me. And it was almost creepily easy. Like, I couldn't believe, how I was getting there, like leaps and bounds. And all it took was embracing the possibility that's found in change. And so I started looking around everywhere. I'm like, what else can I change? I'm going to paint a wall. What'll happen? Maybe we'll find Narnia. I don't know. I was, I got so excited by this process of change. And And then I was driving in my car thinking about all of this stuff, and it suddenly occurred to me that my name means butterfly. And my entire life, my family would sort of be like, oh, Vanessa, you're a social butterfly. And that very well may be true. But I thought, oh my gosh, a butterfly is the prime example of metamorphosis, of change. And my whole life I've been resisting this idea. And now here I am in this sort of very transient space in my life. And I've never felt more powerful. And so sort of embracing the butterfly, embrace the cocoon. It's good for you. So I started to think about what helped me be successful. And I think the biggest thing was realizing what my pitfalls were, and really listening to my intuition. My reason for starting this fitness journey, for the first time, my goal was not to lose weight quickly. Now, my number one goal has been to repair my relationship with food. And that meant I didn't want guilt to be a part of that. And I didn't want shame to be a part of it either. But it also meant that if we're using the metaphor of being in a relationship with food, it means that like relationships take work, and you can't just let it languish, away by the wayside while you ignore it. It's something that you have to nurture day after day. And there was a realization of food being fuel, and how whenever I was stressed out or whenever I was sick, I would turn to junk food. And that's the worst time. That is absolutely the worst time to treat yourself. I'm a big believer in treating yourself, by the way. That's another thing that kept me sane. I realized that living the 80-20 rule was the only way that I was going to stay on this track. Focus T25 sort of embodied that for me, because you do 5 workouts Monday through Friday, and then you have the weekends off. And you can sort of space it out if you want to, do 6 days instead of 5 days. But I chose to do the 5 days, and I relished in those 2 days off. I loved them. And I did a similar thing with my diet. I would eat perfectly Monday through Friday, because I can say Friday. Monday through Friday, I would eat perfectly. And on the weekends, I would just loosen up a little bit. It's not that I would go crazy on the weekend, but I would allow myself a treat meal. And it's a treat, not a cheat, because I ain't doing nothing wrong. And what I would do is, if I knew I was going to have a big treat meal, I would surround that meal with really healthy, nutrient-dense meals, to help, my body get what it needs, and also to sort of pull back calorie-wise surrounding the treat meal. And this allowed me every week to stay sane. I really struggled doing the 21-day fix. I just finished around with the 21-day fix, and having 21 days of trying to stay perfect sort of set me up for a little bit of a rough time, because after 3 weeks, I was like, oh my gosh, I had that lack mentality where, I've been without a treat for so long. And I did have a secret rendezvous with my lover, Dr. Pepper. And it wasn't good. It was terrible. And I was like, what? It's so important to know how you function. Some people, you have a treat meal and it's like a slippery slope, and you can't get back where you want to be. But for me, knowing that it's coming, like knowing that it's there and it's not going anywhere, it's like floaties. It's like floaties in the swimming pool. You're going to be fine. Just keep swimming. And for me, the difference between success and failure is a conscious decision versus giving into temptation on a momentary basis. There's a big difference for me between having a regularly scheduled stop, asking your wagon to make a stop, and falling off of the wagon. The wagon's going to leave you behind if you fall off. But if you stop at the depot and you get what you need, and then you get back on, like, you just don't want to stop too often. And I have a little note here to be honest with yourself that every time your wagon stops, you do lose momentum and you lose time. So just being very aware and being mindful of what it means. But for me, it's more important to have a successful overall journey than to do it as quickly as possible, because that sort of feeds back into my old MO. So I think I have one more slide to share. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. No, I'm scared. So I'm really, really happy to say that I finally have after pictures. So can everyone see that? Awesome. So we have my day one. The picture in the middle is actually my official after picture for Focus T25. And then the photos all the way to the right are actually midway through the 21-day fix. My mom is mortified that I was wearing white undies. Sorry, Mom. But what I see there is someone who has gotten a lot stronger. I'm not really so worried about what I look like anymore. I'm happy with the progress that I've made. But for me, the journey being about the progress, being about getting stronger, being able to play hard. I mean, I have this big personality. I want the stamina to go along with it. I want to be able to play. I want to have fun. Like, I had a friend want to go to Jump Zone, and I was like, no way, can't do that. And I can't tell you how many times I had to turn something down because I knew that I did not have the physical strength or stamina to do it. So yeah, this has been my journey so far. I'm on my second round of the 21-day fix. I just started today, and I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to manage the meal plan in a way that sets me up for success. But yeah, it's been a ride, and I couldn't be happier, honestly. And I really owe it so much to Michael, to everyone in our challenge group, the accountability, the relationships. I'll just throw this out there too, that before joining the ramp, I was kind of lonely. I didn't have a community that I felt plugged into. And I just got to say that you guys have been awesome. And being a part of this community has been a powerful part of my transformation. And I don't think that I would have gotten as far as I did without you guys. So thank you.
And now we all cry. Oh my goodness. Vanessa, I freaking love you.
Oh, I love you too. Do you know how long I've waited to hear you say those words?
25 years.
25!
my gosh. Wow, what an incredible story. And, notes or no notes, that was powerful. And that was, I mean, from the heart and so much good information. And I really feel like we got a great sense of your journey.
Yay.
So I just think you did a fantastic job sharing your story. I want to open it up for just a couple minutes for anybody else who wants to comment, or if you have questions for Vanessa.
I got one.
Off mute.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike. Sorry. You said something in the beginning really, really super powerful. And I think it hits home with a lot of people. And when you said you did enough that you thought you could quit. And I think a lot of people do that with diet, with exercise, with anything really.
Yeah.
They just do enough and they say, okay, I've seen some results, and then they quit and they go right back to it. I just wonder if you could speak on your take on that for a little bit.
Oh yeah. That's probably the biggest one for me, because it's something that I think I'm going to be working on for the rest of my life. While I do feel like I've had enough of a switch in my brain that that I'm not just going to go back. Believe me, Dr. Pepper's calling, and I keep on having to block his number, and he keeps coming back. But I think it's because we live in a culture that's very much like instant gratification. That's what we all want. And we also only want to do as much work as, the minimum. We want to do the minimum to get where we want to go. And it really takes integrity, and it takes a kind of inner strength that people aren't used to training on. That's why I think personal development is such a huge part of like getting my brain ready to do this. So, I mean, I think it's a really important thing to impart to other challengers, other people who were trying to help perhaps on a fitness journey, to not only focus on, losing weight or getting skinny, whatever their goals are. It's about a much bigger thing. What do you want your life to look like? Because I know plenty of healthy weight older people who don't have any muscle tone, and they can't do all the fun things that people who have kept their bodies in shape can. So there's a longevity matter there. So is that good?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I just think it's huge that, I think that's a really big thing, how people just do enough, and when they see results, they stop. And I'm so guilty of doing that so many times. I mean, so many times.
Oh yeah.
And I think I'm finally in a place where I can get over that. But yeah, it was just good to hear someone else say it.
You know what it made me think of? I when I was thinking about that whole concept, it reminded me of in Dumb and Dumber, when they're driving to Aspen, and all of a sudden Lloyd turns the car around accidentally and drives the wrong way for hours and hours and hours. And I was thinking about that in relation to diet or exercise. If you say, I want to go from point A to point B, and B is where my goal is, and every so often, you turn the car around and literally drive for days with bad eating habits or not exercising, or months even. I mean, I've been guilty of that. And why would you do that to yourself? Like, you've made so much progress to turn the car around and go the wrong direction intentionally. Like, it's an epidemic. That's what it is. It's an epidemic.
So I got something I want to say here to you, Vanessa. First of all, I love your nerdiness. talking about Narnia and Finding Nemo and all that. Loved it.
I have a Doctor Who blanket right
Oh,
now.
that's awesome. But, I just wanted to say I really like how you kept mentioning about how you have had, it was all about quick results. You wanted everything now. And like you, I've been in that same mindset. And kind of like you mentioned too with the ramp group and everything, I am so glad I'm part of this group because like you were saying, I felt lonely when it came to my workouts and everything.
Yeah.
And now being part of the group, it really helps me realize, hey, I can't just do this for a week and have a six pack.
Right.
It would be awesome. But, so I just wanted to say that I think that's awesome, because I can relate to you a lot in that. And even though I've only been with you guys for like 3 weeks, about roughly, it has made a huge difference for me already.
Oh, that's so awesome to hear. That's so awesome. I mean, it's a great group, isn't it?
It is. I love it.
Me too.
So on the 80-20 rule, what would be a good healthy dessert or something that you go for now? It doesn't have to be necessarily perfectly healthy, but something maybe is a splurge for you.
Well, honestly, when I say a treat meal, I mean it. Like, it's not healthy. And I'm not talking about going back to old habits per se, but like if I want barbecue, I'm gonna go get barbecue. If I want a hamburger and fries, I'm going to do that. But I'm not going to make that part of my daily life, and I'm probably not going to do those as treat meals back to back. But as far as, that's terrible. Like, nobody wants to hear that. But it's how I keep myself sane. Because when I get into deprivation mode, then I go a little nutty. But as far as like a healthy thing that I go to now, on a regular basis, like I keep clementines in my house because they are great for a sweet tooth. Honestly, I have a Shakeology recipe that is the bomb diggity, and it really hits the spot as far as needing something sweet. Yeah. So those are, when I treat myself, I treat myself. That's what I'm saying.
Dude, Carl, check this out. My wife found this new recipe. Take a banana, put it in a bunch of slices, put peanut butter between them, and smash them and stick them in the freezer.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Little frozen heavens.
I love it.
I got one more thing for you. Thank you, Adam. I got one more thing for you, Vanessa. You said that when you did the 21-day fix, it was at 80-20, or when you do Focus 225 was 80-20. On the 21-day fix, do you go straight through 21 days, no treat meals or anything like that?
Well, that's what the plan was. I just finished up my first round of it, and I've got to be honest, it was brutal. I was not prepared. Like the 21-day fix is it's like prepped in this pretty little, feminine packaging, and it's got purple, and Autumn's all pretty, and she's got her hair. And then you start day one and you can't move for 3 days and you hate her. You're laughing right now, I can tell. Yeah, so I actually did intend to follow the program perfectly because it was 21 days and I was like, I can do anything for 3 weeks, which is true. But about 2 weeks in, I started to get the shakes. And it wasn't like it was, it was like I just started to get that lack mentality of like, I'm never going to see, a hamburger ever again. I don't even remember what I did have, but I got to a place where I was like, I have to have, it was barbecue. It was barbecue. I was like, I must have some barbecue. And I made an appointment with myself for said barbecue. I didn't get the shakes and go out and treat myself. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to stick to the plan until this day. I'm going to plan it into the day, and then I'll feel better. But then it was like the damage had already been done. So by the time when I finished, the program was over, and I got to day 21, I went a little crazy afterwards. And so my plan moving forward with the 21-day fix is to sort of go back to my 80-20 rule that I was doing with Focus T25, because just how I function, how my brain works, I just go a little nutty. So from here on out, I will be having a little more freedom. And I think part of it is, again, thinking of that longevity thing. It's really easy when you think, oh my gosh, I've got a 3-week program. I want to get the best results I possibly can in 3 weeks, and I'm going to be ripped like Autumn. Is anyone else ripped like Autumn? I don't know. But then I started thinking, I'm like, okay, I can't think in 3-week segments. I have to think in months and years, and what can I sustain for a long period of time? Because I cannot go back to crash dieting. I cannot do that, because it sets me up for failure, and I think it sets up a lot of people for failure, for sure.
Yeah, I want to jump in on that as well. I think that is just such a really healthy way to think about what you're doing. Looking at the long haul, that it's going to be there's going to be like valleys and mountains, and of course having your eye on that long-term effect kind of makes the immediate less weighty and less dire if there's some sort of a slip up. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is there's a big difference between quitting and failure. And failure is fine. Like, that just means that you're pushing yourself into new places and you're experiencing something for the first time, and there's an opportunity to learn. But with quitting, there's no chance to learn anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love what you're saying about that long term. And I think for me, since I've been doing this for about 5 years now, it's kind of like there are periods where I get really focused, and then there are periods where I just kind of let up on the reins a little bit, but nevertheless continue moving in the same direction.
Yes, that's such a huge thing, because even if you're I actually meant to write this down. I'm going to see if I can find it. But when I went to Super Saturday, Miguel, what's his last name, Peter? Carrasco. Yes, he shared the most wonderful quote from Martin Luther King Jr. And he says, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. And yeah, that idea that, okay, like I might have slowed down to a crawl now, but I'm still focused in that direction. I'm still training all my efforts on that end goal. And you also reminded me that, like, in the 21-day fix, I know lots of people get annoyed with Autumn, and there's a part of me that kind of wants to be annoyed with her, but I like her and I think we're best friends, but I hate her because she makes me be in pain all the time. But she says the most wonderful thing in one of the workouts, and she says, if you're tired of starting over, stop quitting. And I remember being like, the first time I heard it, I was kind of like mad. I was like mad at her. I was like, shut up, Autumn. You would say that. But do you know what helped me not get mad at her when she said that? And it was something you said, Michael. You were encouraging someone either on the ramp or on Facebook somewhere, and you were saying, giving up is like if you get a flat tire and you slash the rest of your tires. It's like, it's a no-brainer. You're not going to slash, oh, well, one tire's flat, I give up. You know, so I thought that like those two things going together, that it's all about your mentality and all about your commitment. Because what are you going to do? Leave your car on the side of the road for the rest of your life? No.
Although in snowpocalypse, sometimes that seems like it happens.
Oh, right. Right. We're getting more snow tonight.
Uh-oh.
I don't want it.
Chicago has missed it. It's confused.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions?
I just want to say thanks so much, Vanessa, for sharing. So that was really good. And of course, it was nice to meet you at the Super Saturday too. So
yes, Peter and I got to meet face to face at Super Saturday, and he took much better notes than I did. Yeah, and actually, Peter, thank you so much for asking me to do Monday Mojo. I think if in reference to those pictures that I had up there a while ago, I think he asked me to share, Peter asked me to share before I had gotten to day 31. I mean, I had only been doing T25 for a couple of weeks, and I was like, what? You want me to share? Like, I like couldn't even, but I said yes for some reason, and here we are.
awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Peter.
You're welcome.
And we are glad that you did.
Yay.
Just in closing, I want to just kind of remind ourselves the whole reason we're doing this is to see if somebody can do it, so can I. And what I love about your story is that you really didn't hold anything back, and that you really shared the struggles and just the very real life that creeps in. And, you know, I think that's where it's relatable. That's where it's powerful. And if there's anybody who's watching this call either live or watching the replay afterward, and you feel like you're in that struggle time where there's no hope, where it's very dark, and you just, you know, the most you can do is watch a video, just draw strength from Vanessa's story, that all of us here have been in that place. And, you know, we weren't flying, we weren't running, we were crawling. But just know that that crawl can one day turn into a run, and that run can one day turn into flight. If humans could fly, I think that's where the analogy breaks down a little bit. But I just really thank you for sharing that part, and then also making the distinction between doing things on your own terms versus accepting coaching, and the difference that made for you, and kind of like relinquishing control. I know this is not a 12-step group, but there's a lot of truth in that, and just kind of giving up power and control, since if we consider that our best choices on our own have led us to this place. And if we're not happy with this place, then we need to seek outside influence to help us to get to another place that will, you know, bring us additional choices that we might not be able to see. So I think that's extremely powerful, and it's really encouraging to know that, you know, once that switch was flipped for you, the change began to happen rapidly, and, like, as you saw, kind of eerily quickly and easily. So, you know, if anybody else is struggling with that, you know, just know that that feeling so much better it's like a couple days away. It's really like 2 or 3 days away. So let's all draw hope from that. So thank you, Vanessa, for an amazing Monday Mojo. Thank you, everybody who is here on the call live, for spending your time with us and just really demonstrating the value of what we're doing. Please share this with other people. Share Vanessa's story. there's probably somebody else in your life who could really benefit a lot from hearing this story. And to everybody who's watching the replay afterwards, thank you so much. So with that, have a great night, everybody. I have so much love for you. Mwah! And have an awesome, awesome week.
Bye.
Bye.